those YouTube channels, those hunting channels where they go in the woods and they sit there for a few minutes and a big buck comes out and they shoot it and then you get to see the buck and there's a whole bunch of high fives. That's not this channel. I got a little help, man. I claimed the sore shoulder thing with all my friends, and so he's carrying the corn over here to the feeder. For 17 years, I've put my heart and soul into this, and it didn't work out. And today is the day that I pack my stuff and move on. And I got a lot of emotions stirring around inside me about it. I gave it one more year and I really gave it a lot of effort, and I wasn't successful. So that's what this video is going to be about, picking up the pieces. So if you're familiar with the Piney Grove story, then you might want to skip ahead a little bit. But if you're not, my wife Deb and I bought 20 acres about 7 years ago. And those 20 acres are about an hour away from where the place we call home. Decided to move out of the city and move to the country. When one door opens, you know, another door closes, and this door here is going to close for me. Part of me is glad because there's a lot of work involved in this, but another part of me is really sad because I have a lot of great memories, not only for myself, but for my son and with Deb, and just a lot of memories that pretty much only come around when you have this sort of opportunity. Just look how gorgeous this is. Just clear blue water. It's about 4 foot deep or so. Got our 140-yard targets across the water. Have our 200 and some yard target over there by that dirt bank. And then we have a 100-yard target there. Then we have a covered area where we can shoot and stay out of the rain and the sun. And then over here, we have our pistol range. Those are actually pop-up targets, so you shoot them and they pop back up. Okay, so all of those were clues that I just said of what I'm giving up. And if you thought that it was me giving up Deb, you're crazy. I'm never giving that woman up. But what I am giving up is the second woman in my life, and that's this 1,200 acre lease. And it's hard for me to say it. I mean, I'm choking back right now just thinking about it. And I'm coming off a really, really bad season. So it's 4 o'clock and I still haven't seen anything. And keep in mind, this is managed property. It's 1,200 acres that I've been managing for 16 years. I filmed every day of hunting because I was after a buck. I think it's the first year of 17 that I never got a buck. And that's after years and years of improving this land. All right, guys, we're back at the truck. Nothing ever came out. I heard something there at the edge of the pot and didn't like whatever it smelt or saw or whatever. This land has meant so much to me for so long. Just this area right here, we had our dogs out there swimming. We would just come out here and recreate. My son, from the time he was 5 or 6 years old, he has shot thousands and thousands of pistol and rifle bullets from that area right there. And we got into this land and it was totally undeveloped, very wild. And we carved out 12 acres of food plots with little tiny 28 and smaller horsepower tractors. In fact, I bought a tractor sight unseen just to work this land. And I didn't really know much about compact tractors because I was raised on the farm and we didn't have compact tractors on the farm. So this is an example of one of the spots that we carved out. This is about a 1 acre plot. There's an L down there you can't see to the left. I'm not being forced off this land at all. It's completely voluntary, and you know, all the guys that have been part of this hunting lease, we all want to stay together and keep doing this because we all trust each other. We're all former Air Force, and we trust and like each other and want the best for the herd. But Piney Grove is actually in the wrong direction. We bought further inland than where we currently live, where Piney Grove is, and this is actually further to the southeast along the coast. But I'm on week number 2 of being retired, so I got a lot of time on my hands. And what I found this season is it's a 1-hour drive-ish from our current residence to out here, and that's doable. But from Piney Grove it's 2 hours, and 2 hours just kind of sucks the fun out of hunting when you got to leave the house 2 hours early to hunt, and then if you do harvest something and you clean it, or if you want to get it to the processors all want to shut down around 8 p.m. and it's just logistically it's just really hard to make it all work, and it just sucks the fun out of it. It sucks the fun out of it when you're doing more driving than you're doing hunting. I probably made a mistake staying on one more year, because this last year, just number one, I wasn't successful. I just wasn't seeing the deer. The amount of effort I put into that spot, and how frustrated I was that I didn't see any deer, because one of the big things about hunting deer is having a low pressure area. Don't overpressure the area, especially in the rut. And that field has never been sat on, and we are miles from any kind of housing or dogs barking or any kind of interruptions, right? Or any kind of human scent or anything in this area. So in that plot, I pinted it in November, and last night, over 2 months later, was the first time that anybody had sat there. And I sat there with the right wind so that I didn't contaminate the area, and I still didn't see anything. And number 2, I wasn't enjoying it. And the sad thing is that as bad as this season was, it's getting to be where it's so hard to find hunting land. There's my condo back there, and this is the plot that I call New Ninja. And this plot has been just a great plot over the years to see deer and to harvest deer. One of the biggest bucks I ever took off this property, I took in this plot, and we had this old doe, and this doe had warts on her face. So she had these big black warts that came out like that far on her face, and then they receded, and whatever caused them recessed into her body, and she had a white face. She had scars from it, and she was old. She was like a 10-year-old deer, and she never ever came in this plot. And I was sitting here one afternoon, and it was kind of early. It was like 3 o'clock or so. And she stood right there, and she never comes to this plot, and she was eating. And I was watching her, and out of the corner of my eye, this big 9-point, one of the biggest bucks I've ever taken from this property, came running over to her. She ran off. It was during the rut, and then I dropped him right there. This also is the plot that my son shot his first deer. He shot a doe right over there underneath that oak tree, and I couldn't find it. I mean, we looked and looked, there was no blood trail, and we scoured these woods and had my friend show up, and he scoured the woods with me, and we couldn't find it. And we came back a couple days later, because we keep hunting, and buzzards were circling back there, and she was only like 60 yards that way, and we couldn't find her. There was no blood trail, we didn't have dogs, and we lost my son's first deer just because we thought for sure she went that way in the swamp. But those are the memories that are coming back as I walk across here. My very first hunt of the year, I got a doe right there. She came out just before dark, and got some good meat in the freezer. And I kept hunting this area because there was a nice buck coming in here, but at night, and I never saw anything. I think I saw a spike. All right, guys, back at it. This is the 4th hunt on this video, I think, and my friends have been hunting all morning. I'm going in, should be in my stand by about 2 p.m. And our neighbors north of us, we're on 1,200 acres and he's on 1,200 acres. Our neighbors north of us killed a nice 8-point. Well, we just checked all our cameras, and it's the same 8-point that I've been after. So I was seriously thinking about turning around and going home because we're not showing any more bucks on camera. Although the guys who hunted this morning saw a couple moving, little bucks moving with the rut right in front of us, a few weeks in front of us. Well, anyhow, we checked our cameras, and the last blind that I sat in last night at midnight, a really, really nice tall 8-point, new to all of us. None of us had seen it before. So that gave me some hope that there's something out here worth hunting. So I'm leaving my friend this pole. This pole, telephone pole, actually came from a friend's old farm, and they made it into a subdivision. They sold it, and the people, it was like a security light or something, and they just picked up the pole and put it on the ground because they were putting in all new everything. So I picked that pole up with my tractor, brought it out here, set it in the ground with about 6 bags of concrete, and then I covered it with tin so the bears can't climb it. And then I got, I think that's a Moultrie or a Viking gantry. So you go up there and you lower your feeder down, and it keeps your feeder away from the bears. But I'm not taking any of that stuff with me. I'm giving that to my friend. I have a real close friend. We served together in the Air Force, and we were on this lease almost the whole time together. I think I have 2 years more than him on the lease. I was the one that found it. He got on it later and kind of got him back into deer hunting. So he's going to stay on with a couple of my other friends. And I told him, anything I leave behind after today is yours. See what kind of treasures that we have in here. All these shelves and everything I built so that I'd have a nice rest when I'm shooting. So you have 2 pots at this particular location, and just neither one produced this year. And just like that, I've cleaned my stuff out of this spot. There wasn't a lot to collect, but this is one of the premier spots on the lease on the property for hunting. And I've just checked out in just a few minutes. And my friend, you saw where he had his chair in there. He stores, he doesn't like to hunt out of condos like that, which have a roof on them. He likes the open air. So his chairs don't rot. He'll put them in my condos during the off season. And so he went around and took down feeders and just got everything buttoned up at the end of the season. And he said he got choked up because him and I will never hunt this land again. When I was younger, I would hunt in 10-degree weather in Virginia and duck hunt, and I'd have ice dripping off of me. And in New Mexico, the same thing. And occasionally it gets cold here in Florida. I actually sat one day all day, and it was below freezing all day, and my water bottle froze next to me. And I loved it. I enjoyed it. And I just found that as the time went by, it was more of a, I don't know, an effort to kind of get some return on investment from the money that I spent out here for my annual fees, and also the money, $300, $400, $500 that it takes to plant these plots and fertilize them. And I almost felt like I had to hunt to get some of that money back, so I'd have deer meat. And it just became less of the thrill of the hunt and more of like a financial transaction. And that bothers me. That's kind of what hunting has become anymore. It's more of a transaction than it is, having some land that you can go hunt on and the thrill of the chase and all that, because land access anymore is few and far between unless you got a lot of money, a lot of cash. My granddad used to have up in the attic, he used to store his stuff because he used to travel to Mexico and stuff to, that's where he spent his time. He was kind of a vagabond. He didn't really stay any place. So my parents had a big farmhouse, so he had a room they gave to him, and he stored all of his stuff there from when he used to have a house. And he had these books like hunting elephants and rhinos and Cape buffalo and all that, that exotic, maybe Africa type of game. But there's also some white-tailed deer in there and some mule-tailed deer books. And I just really got into it. I loved it. And then my dad was a big duck hunter, so I got huge into duck hunting and stayed with that for a long time. But got into deer hunting and loved it. Loved sitting and watching animals, not necessarily taking one. But this year it was a lot of sitting, not seeing anything, very little harvest, a lot of driving, a lot of money. And it's a lot of work. And as you get older, you know, it's 100 and some degrees out here in the summer maintaining these plots and everything. So in addition to the drive and dealing with the tractors and all that stuff, it just, you know, it just became not as fun anymore, I guess. I guess that's the best way to put it. Now, I'm not giving up hunting. I'm just giving up this property because of all the logistics to hunt it. But getting back to another point, I'm having trouble finding somewhere else to hunt closer to where Piney Grove is. So if you've got family land, you know, 50 acres, 100 acres, 300 acres, whatever, and you're hunting it for free because your granddad owns it or your dad owns it, or maybe even you own it, but that is such a gift. Again, 17 years I've been making this drive. It's down some country roads that I thought would never get developed. It has happened. Like every half mile or so, every quarter mile or so, somebody has bought, you know, 20, 30, 40 acres, and they got a double wide or a barn dominium or something on it and a couple horses, and you know, they're living their American dream. And that's awesome, but that's all land that used to be huntable. And this current tract that I'm on is part of a 300,000 acre cattle ranch. And at any moment they could, you know, just say, we don't want hunting. Like somebody could mistakenly or maybe even on purpose shoot one of their cows, and that would probably end it for all of us. I mean, that's how fragile it is as far as the ability and the access for hunting. When I was younger, you just went and knocked on someone's door, but it's transactional now. People want, you know, taxes are so high, and if your land isn't producing by crops of corn or whatever, you know, if you're planting pine trees, you're waiting 20, 30 years to get any return on your investment. You might as well get $5,000 a year from someone like me that wants to hunt. Because we're grandfathered in and have been with this company for a very long time, we're paying like $3.50 an acre. But most land, even as bad as this land where there's not a lot of deer, is like $10 an acre. We got 1,200 acres, but if you had 1,000 acres, that'd be $10,000 split between, we have 4 people here. That's $2,500 a piece just to be able to come in the gate. That's it. You can just come in the gate. That's not the cost of your gas or your tractor or your deer stands or food plots or corn or your rifle or anything. So $200 a month just to get on the land, and then it's not necessarily good land for hunting. Like I already talked about, the herd for some reason is diminished. It's diminished, and we don't understand it because they have more food than they've ever had before, because we have put 10 to 12 acres in food plots, and now we've got that down to where it's more like 8 acres, but still it's 8 acres of food plots. And that one I just walked in had Austrian winter peas that were 12 inches tall that no deer is eating, and we just don't know where the deer went. There also may be some natural causes why the herd got depleted. I don't know of any diseases that are currently going around this area, but that's the other part. For the first time in many years out here, I sat several hunts and never saw a deer. Never saw one, when I'm used to seeing 5 to 20 when I sit. So something happened and it wasn't good. Now this is my second big area. This one here was so reliable for so many years, but I hunted it a bunch this year and just only saw a couple bucks. And I filmed all those hunts for you guys, and I was so excited to bring them to you because there is still that excitement and that anticipation. One night I saw a few does, and they came out literally right at the end, like you had 1 minute left to shoot. And I had already taken the doe I wanted to take off the property. And then I had a couple bucks that were very small and just not big enough to take. And I didn't want to take bucks for my guys that are, you know, they're going to get bigger next year and the year after. So I didn't want to take their future bucks. So I didn't. I think I'll leave him that chair. I'll leave him some Gatorade bottles. Now this is interesting. That was a piece of plywood when my son was growing up that I painted and put a bunch of stickers on, like cars and trains and stuff. And when he got older, he didn't need that anymore, so I made that into my blind. But when my son was, I think 8 or 9, he was sitting in that chair right there. And we had a couple bucks right there in between those two oak trees, and he actually got his first buck right there. He shot it right there behind the trailer, and then it went this way, and then we retrieved it in the woods right there. And when you're a hunter, there's nothing like the feeling of your child getting their first big game. It's a good feeling as a dad. We got 2 more condos left. I got another one on the other end of this plot. Then I have one in what we call our community plot. Another one of those feeder poles that I invented. Again, that's another telephone pole that I found somewhere. And it's got the gantry on it, and you use a ladder to get up it, and this metal just keeps the bears from climbing it. Is it working? We walked up here, and I don't see, looks like he dropped my corn. He's filling it with corn, so I can't complain about him dropping corn. But normally when you walk up to a feeder, you'll either see corn on the ground or you'll see a bunch of tracks where they've eaten it. Well, we neither see corn nor do we see tracks, so feeder might not have gone off this morning. Right there is one of the best deer trails on the whole place, right there. Many a deer has come out there and stepped into the plot where it's green here, and then went home in the back of a pickup truck because I was sitting right there. Look at all this great nutrition and nothing's eating it. I mean, if you had a good deer population, they would just be eating these pea vines down to nothing. So this here was my second condo, or second type of condo that I built, and this one's a 5x5, built it completely by scratch at home, and designed all my own framing and maybe made it so it was modular so it could go on top of the platform. And this one blew over during a hurricane, and so did that one over there, the one we were just at. And that was in 2018, so 7 years ago. Both of these blew over, and I have 2 condos just like it. You've seen one already earlier in the video. That one didn't blow over. And then I have another one that's just like this big one, and that one didn't blow over. So I had to stand these back up with my tractor by myself. Their roofs are a little dented and sheet metal's a little dented, but you can see why this one blew over on this side, because I have all this sheet metal up here so I can walk. There can be deer right where my truck is, and I can walk and get in this stand, and deer never know it because they can't see me as long as they can't smell me. Now this one truly is a wasp magnet. They love to be in here, and I mean the numbers are just ridiculous. And then here's a whole bunch of wasps that I killed while I was hunting, because as it would warm up they would drop down on me. Never got stung. I'm not affiliated with Texas Hunter in any way, but if you've never heard of them, they make great products for hunting. I've sat all day in this chair, and by all day, I mean been in the stand at 5 and didn't get out till 5 or 6 p.m. And I've had this one for 15 years probably, and it's gonna be cool to have this on Piney Grove and sit in it in the mega shed and kind of relive some of these hunts. One thing my friend wants to do is take these areas now that he kind of inherited them from me, and you know, he's gonna be paying my share of the lease here. He wants to take kids hunting. He wants to take kids that maybe don't have a dad, or their dad isn't interested in hunting, and get them out here and take them to the range and get them dialed in with, you know, a nice soft shooting rifle like a 243, and just take them hunting and introduce them to the sport. I think that's awesome that that's what he wants to do. I mean, I just think about all the work and all the time that I've been out here, and me and my son have been out here and just sitting here and watching deer. This is the most successful stand, the one we just got out of, on this lease, bar none. 1,200 acres, 4 guys hunting, all of them pretty good hunters, pretty good shots. And this field and that stand, because of the prevailing winds, has harvested more deer than any other location. I actually have an awesome video I took of a buck that came right down here, beautiful buck, walked right here, and I was in that condo, and I'll show you how close this condo is I'm talking about. So there's my truck, and there's the condo, but that buck walked right through here and went there that way. And I was sitting there, and it was a year that my son had hit a buck and we couldn't find it. And so I said, I'll take that as my buck. I won't take another buck off the property. And so it hurt me because they didn't care. The guys didn't care. They're like, go ahead and shoot one. You know, you can fill your buck tag. I said, no, that's not fair. These trees were barely as tall as the condo when that condo was built there. So it's 12 foot to the base of the condo, so that might be 18 foot tall total. And now these trees are easily twice as tall. Crazy, big part of my life was on this property. My friends would say, you know, they always knew where to find me on Saturday because Saturday was lease day. They even made like a little comic about it and like a animated PowerPoint. Like, where's Brad? Saturday is lease day. When I drive out of here, it will most likely be the last time I am ever at this location. So this plot here is our community plot. I think it pushed 3 acres at one time. Might be 2 acres now, but we grew corn in this plot. Had a lot of deer coming here. And as big as this area is, once the corn was mature, the bears came in here and like rolled around on all the corn and flattened it out. Like all this was corn, 8 foot tall, and they just rolled around and flattened it out. And I have another one of those big condos right there. And I hunted it a few times, but I only took 1 deer out of this. All that work, all this money, and I only took 1 deer out of it because my other 2 places were so good that I just never had to use this one. And here's an example of us just trying to leave it better than we found it. That's clover, and clover only feeds in the spring and the summer. And so even when hunting season's over, we tried to keep the deer fed. We just tried a whole bunch of different things out here to feed the herd and to get the deer fatter and more healthy so they'd have more fawns, so there'd be more deer on the property. And I mean, we're literally talking about 100 tons of lime. And we used to buy fertilizer in bulk bags, in like the 1-ton bags. And we would plant expensive soybeans and expensive corn and just try to make it better. So I had to bring some tools to take this feeder down because it's buried in like 10 bags of concrete. So I'm gonna cut it off. The guys know where it is if they ever wanna dig it out or make sure that they don't run their tractor over it. But I had to bring a generator because I don't have a cordless Sawzall. My Sawzall is electric. But the last piece of equipment we're gonna get here is very important. So that we all didn't have to buy the same equipment, we co-opted a lot of things. So we would go in thirds or fourths on things, and that way we wouldn't spend as much money on equipment. And I asked if I could take this with me. And what this is a homemade cultipacker made out of an old farm cultipacker that I bought off of Facebook Marketplace and paid one of my wife's friend's husbands, it's heavier than I thought, to weld up for me to make a ATV one and an 8-foot one for behind the tractor. So they agreed I could have this one, the ATV one, but it's all made out of tubular frame with all welded together with hooks to lift it. And I actually had tires on it where you could flip it over, air tires on it, so you wouldn't have to transport it, dragging it across these heavy rollers, but it couldn't handle those tires and they all blew out. You don't realize how much an ATV pulls or a tractor pulls until you try to pull something by hand. I think I can get it up there. Get a running start. Once I get it up the ramp, hopefully it doesn't get like halfway up and stop. And I have to do it again. I probably only have like 2 in me. First try. But guys, that's gonna wrap it up. I really would love to hear your thoughts about if you're a hunter or if there's anything as you've aged, if you've lost passion for. And I'm still gonna hunt. I mean, I still have passion for hunting. I just don't have that get up at 4 in the morning, drive 2 hours, sit all day, drive 2 hours back passion. So I'm actually looking in the area of Piney Grove, maybe partner with some guys that I know and if we can find some property. But it really is, it's a dilemma for those of us that want to carry on that tradition of hunting. So if you have the chance, if you have the land or whatever, you know, take a young person hunting and get them involved in it. It just, you know, how's the old saying go? Take your kid hunting and you'll never have to hunt for your kid. Take your kids outdoors, away from video games, away from bad influence. We got to keep this tradition alive. It's just a very pure thing to do, to be outdoors. There's a song out there, it's like called 5 More Minutes or something, but it's a kid's walking off a football field and it's his senior game, his last game, homecoming game or something, and he says, the next time I come here, I'm gonna have to buy a ticket. This is my homecoming game, and the next time that I come onto this property, I'll no longer be a member. I'll be a trespasser, right? Take care, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.